So good morning, everyone. My name is Tanisha Ford. I am the Marketing and Communications Manager at Art Pride, New Jersey. I am an African-American woman of an indiscriminate age with natural black curly hair. I am wearing today my black glasses with white detail, a kind of cream top. I will respond to any pronoun so long as it's done respectfully. I'm coming to you today from my home in Willingboro, New Jersey, the ancestral homeland of the Lenni Lenape people. A little bit of housekeeping to get started. If you would like to use closed captioning, it is available by clicking show captions at the bottom of the Zoom screen. If you have any questions throughout the course of this meeting, it's a meeting and not a webinar. Let's look at your faces and connect. Go ahead and drop them into the chat box where everyone is doing great with saying hello. So if you want to go back and reference anything you've heard, or if you want to share it with your colleagues, because this is really meant to be a resource tool and it is meant to be shared broadly so that people can gain knowledge from what we have to offer. So just a little quick overview of the webinar. We'll be hearing from Dr. Neil Bardhan of Bardhan Consulting. He'll discuss the necessity of your organizations to communicate your latest endeavors with peers, audiences, and stakeholders effectively. Neil is a speaker and facilitator based in Philadelphia. After earning his PhD in Brain and Cognitive Sciences from the University of Rochester, Neil was a research scientist in the Adaptive Listening Group at the Max Planck Institute for Psycholinguistics. Now, during this time, he also taught through the Institute of English Languages and Literature at the University of Tübingen in Germany. He now offers communication and media strategy services as Bardhan Consulting and serves on staff at First Person Arts and Broad Street Review. At the end of his presentation, he'll give you some contact information, which will also be in our recap email tomorrow. So if you like what you hear, there's an opportunity to reconnect with him for any future services. And with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Dr. Neil Bardhan.
All right. Thank you so much, Tanisha, for that lovely introduction. Great to see you. Great to be working with Art Pride New Jersey and meeting some of the folks in this world. And yeah, thanks again to everybody who showed up. You never quite know how things are going to go with the digital age. Tanisha did a great introduction of me, but the upshot, the through line that you may be able to tell is I'm interested in how people talk to one another, and I've done that on a very micro scale and literally, what are your neurons doing? And I've also now zoomed out to more of a macro scale and how do organizations do it in different ways. And so I've been building my toolkit over the past years. Vince, can we go to the next slide? Great. This is the meeting that you're in. Hopefully that's not a surprise to you. But I want to talk today about different kinds of stakeholders that you may have for your different organizations, and also different ways to talk about that. Let's go one slide in. Next slide. Yeah, Tanisha covered me nicely, and yeah, I have a range of experiences working with small businesses, small nonprofits, national nonprofits that have regional presences, with political advocacy. Everything is interesting to me, it turns out. And I just love helping people talk about the work that they do and why do they do it and think about different pathways for it. So next slide. Yeah, some of my artistic credentials, Vince and I were talking about this beforehand, is I have a lot of training in improvisational comedy, also doing stand-up and true personal storytelling. I just love being with an audience and talking about the things that interest me and hearing about the things that interest them. Great. So hope everybody got to meet a few new people. Gatherings like this, it's sometimes interesting to see who already knows each other deeply, who has been on emails with each other, which is one of my favorite kind of modern relationships, is running into somebody at a meeting and I say, oh, I know who you are, very technically, but maybe you got to meet somebody new, maybe you got to build some new connections. We're going to go back into breakout rooms in a minute, and I want to type out some prompts that many of you may have received via email in the days preceding this. But hopefully everybody's been able to give some thought to some questions around today's topic of narrative. So the first question is, does your 2019 audience know where you are in 2023 and beyond? How do folks inside your organization, outside, and then number 3 is going to sound like a twist on 2, but some of you are really going to get it. How do you talk about your organization's work to potential donors, very specifically? It's a very special brand of stakeholder. Right. We're back all together. Hope that was a productive little session of checking in on where everybody is these days. Anything emerge in particular from that? Let me see if we can pull up the chat and people can drop some thoughts in the chat and say, oh, I uncovered something new, or I connected with somebody. Go ahead and do that. Great, thanks, Tanisha. Great starter question for our group, for your group. The group that I was in was sharing some things that are pretty, as I said, pretty deep and transparent about challenges that they're facing, and finding ways to work around it. Anything else that came up for people? All right, we'll move right along then. And truly, throughout this, feel free to drop some questions, comments in the chat. Tanisha and Vince are observing it. We will go to the next slide, and I'll give some concrete ideas about how to share updates and goals for your different stakeholders. And this is just a way I've been thinking about pitches pretty broadly across different kinds of groups and individuals that I've been working with in all my various capacities. If you were tracking Tanisha's intro of me earlier, I wear a bunch of different hats, and it all falls under messaging. And I just sometimes have to distill things down. And so for arts groups in particular, in this decade that we're now well into, I've been thinking a lot about how do we say what's going on? And the first piece is multi-layered. Who is doing what? How do they do it? Why do they do it? And for whom? Whether that's a direct service, whether that's for audience members or for some kind of stakeholder that's like a kind of a second order effect. And then, you know, I've begun working on this as well, which is that like place really matters. I've been with some organizations where they care about a 2-block radius. That's a very different thing than, say, my colleagues over at Broad Street Review, where it's covering 3 different states and lots of kind of subregions within that. And so just being able to name this does a lot of the work. And just think for yourself, yeah, how do I put that together for my organization or for my team within an organization, right? Some of you might be in very complex situations. The next point that, again, just reflects where we've all been the past 7-ish years is what's been changing for you, and what can you be upfront about with that? Sometimes it's really helpful to say we've run into funding problems because of the pandemic, because of a lack of live shows, because of any number of things. Or maybe things have been changing with new opportunities, right? I'm part of a group where we moved our in-person activities online. Many of you may be in the same place. And maybe that's opened up new audiences because people weren't able to travel on a Tuesday night from North Carolina to Burlington to see a show 5 years ago, but now they can Zoom to do it. So acknowledging the challenging changes as well as the opportunity changes. And then the last thing is what's missing. I think this is a really bold and brave thing to talk about and say, here's where your audience, broadly defined, right? Whether that's donor, whether that's potential employee, potential partner organization, what's going on that has an opportunity for addition of funds, of ideas, of new audience connections. Something I'm seeing a lot of within the city of Philadelphia cultural world, and I think this is true beyond, is recognizing, look, we got a lot of great players on the scene, lots of cool organizations. How can they partner together so that they're not competing for audiences? I think many of us know that in the past couple of years, people have had more limited bandwidth. And so why don't two groups partner together for one event rather than saying, well, we're doing something on Wednesday night and we're doing something slightly different on Thursday night. Just team up. What's missing sometimes is just recognizing the audiences that are already there. All right. Gonna
Vince,
pause.
Neil, Shoanne
Yes.
has a question. How do you share your updates in a way that doesn't go over a minute? I know I struggle not to ramble off everything to the point where I get past 3 to 5 minutes.
Shoanne, that is a super question. And it comes down to practice. I'm going to talk about this in some of the next slides as well. But it can feel like you're relying on a script. And in my experience, it helps to, one, yes, have a script. Two, have a flexibility in that script based on situations that you're in. And three, also acknowledging, hey, I'm going to walk through our talking points. I just want to like lay it all out there for you. And that way it opens it up for people to say, great, I know that I'm getting the 90-second overview, and then I can tune into you, Shoanne, right after that and say, okay, you specifically mentioned challenges in fundraising. Let's talk specifically about that. You don't need to give the whole life story of the organization in 3 minutes. Just stick to this pitch of like, what's going on? How is the work getting done these days? Has the mission changed? Has the team composition changed? People want to know just these bullet points. Is that helpful?
Lisa from Roxbury Arts Alliance acknowledges that she has been talking about collaborations with her group as well.
Yeah, cool.
So that's a group already for the rest of y'all who's looking for collaborations. Just not that I'm trying to network in a networking event, but all right. Sorry, go ahead.
Great, thanks, Steve. Great, Vince. If we could go to the next slide, powering through. Yeah, so an example, right? My colleagues at Broad Street Review, who were a nonprofit media outlet that does what? We focus on arts and culture. How? Through a free website. Why? Because we believe that information and discussion about the arts should be free to everybody. And for whom? Everybody, regardless of geography, ability, connection to arts organizations and institutions, and where. This is something that I've actually had to adapt. I used to say Broad Street Review works in Philadelphia. And then I was at a function some years ago, and somebody said, well, I work with a chorus in Camden County. Would you ever consider writing about us? And I was like, yeah, I said Philadelphia. And then I thought, oh no, I've been saying Philadelphia, meaning the greater Philadelphia area. But what I really should be saying is the greater Philadelphia area, not Philadelphia, because that can imply specifically the city of. And so, yeah, that's just a quick example there. And what's been changing on the Broad Street Review side, I can talk about our editor has been focusing on accessibility within the arts and everything that means. What else has been changing? The pool of writers that we access has changed. What else is changing? The media ecosystem that we're in has changed a lot over the past 5 to 7 years that I've been part of this organization. And the last thing is what's missing, again, kind of shifting depending on my audience or the winds of the day. What's missing sometimes is individual donors or a recognition for the work that we're doing. I have a laundry list of things where I can say, here's what's missing, and that whoever I'm talking to has an opportunity for. So, right, that's to Shoanne's question, right? What was that really in terms of content? 45 to 90 seconds of who are we, what are we doing, what's going on, where are we headed, hopefully. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, some tips on this idea. Making it clear, trying it out over and over again, checking your language across audience. If you tell people oh, we work in experimental theater. What does that mean to your everyday New Jersey resident? Probably something different than folks who are already part of the theater scene, right? Making a little clear in precise language, or adjusting your language entirely, because maybe the artistic buzzword that you used isn't actually helpful to a more broad audience, right? This happens sometimes for me when I'm working with folks at First Person Arts. First Person Arts often says storytelling organization, but I've refined it sometimes to say true personal storytelling, because it's not storytelling in the way of advertising. It's not storytelling like tall tales or myths or legends. It is about lived experiences by humans in the region who are talking about themselves, by and large, right? So clarity of language, and just practicing it so it feels like you're not stumbling over your words, right? Making it short, again, to show Anne's point. For so many reasons now, people have limited bandwidth, and you just want to give them the basics of it, and then give them the opportunity for them to tag in and say, hey, let's go back to that thing that you were saying about the space that you're working in. Sounds like you've had to transition out of your pre-2020 space. You're in a new theater. What's going on there? Keep it short so that they can remember those points. Making it memorable, right? Just having a couple things is really easy. Some of my work back in my days of psychology and neuroscience was about how human memory works. And honestly, the traditional view for a long time was people can remember 7 items. It's realistically closer to 3 or 4 items. So being able to just distill it down and say, we do this, here's how, here's where or why, depending on your mission. And then the last point is making it human and relevant. Why should this person care about what you're saying? I am in countless conversations with people where I don't feel like they're trying to connect with who I am as an artist, as an administrator, as a potential audience member. They're just going off their talking about points. Again, have some flexibility and some understanding of maybe I'm going to be in a different room Thursday than I am today to be pitching it. Think about those different relevance points and how people might want to become part of what you're doing. Does that work for folks? Just pause there, and I know that there's stuff happening in the chat, and Tanisha's on it.
Shoanne just shared about some of the opportunities, if you guys missed it in the chat, to connect through the South Jersey Cultural Alliance. And it's 10:43, full stop.
Yeah, great. Let us, if there's no other big questions or discussion points, I do want to give people a chance to try these pitches out on each other. Drop a question in the chat if you have it. If not, Vince, let's prep breakout rooms. That's the word.
And Neil, let's give, so we're at 10:43. Let's give 8 minutes for this. Perfect. Breakout.
Perfect. 8 minutes for breakout rooms. So people will be back in here by 10:53. All right.
Go on down to jam updates. Yes, great. Thank you. So it was a great conversation, and so we are advancing past some slides, but please do not worry, because I will in the follow-up email be giving you all of Neil's contact information. In addition, as it was asked, there will be this YouTube in the email, as well as this will be locked up or popped up onto our website. So you will have access to this. I'm going to go through this in the next 5 minutes so that we can be respectful of your time, that you guys can get on with your very busy days. Here's what's going on in Jersey Arts Updates. Vince? So we are sad to share with you that our fine friend, the outgoing membership and development manager, Megan LeBou, officially resigned from her position this summer. Her services and talents will be missed. She's been in contact with many of you with regards to your membership and a whole lot of communications. Next slide. However, we would love to welcome Marcy Peterson. Some of you may know her from Wheaton. Marcy is has an accomplished career as a nonprofit administrator spanning over 25 years. And her expertise, she's going to bring her expertise to the Art Pride table. Please look out for emails from her and communications in the near future as she acquaints herself with all of you members and she works to enhance your member experience. Next slide, please. Art Pride has gone through a great deal of transition this summer, as we've already just kind of highlighted with the leaving of Megan and the welcoming of Marcy. You've been hearing us talk about our website for a little while now, and that is still under development. And because of all this transition and all of this extra work, we had to put a pause on summer stages this summer, which was an opportunity that we were really sad to have missed upon. Next slide. In addition to the exodus of Megan LeBeau, we're also lost Catherine C. Stroud as our digital content manager. She was an amazing person, and we're actively looking for a new digital content manager at this time. We have an interim digital content manager. Some of you may know her from some of her correspondent work, Gina Marie Rodriguez. But as a result of the transition in that, we must needs put a pause on our fall guide this year. However, next slide, we are 100% committed to the holiday guide returning this winter, which is really a big ticket sales time for all of the organizations. So we want to make sure that all of your marketing people are connected with us through all the ways, the emails, the social medias, because we'll be promoting that very soon. In fact, we'll be releasing a link to start sending your stuff within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Holiday Guide is coming back for the winter, and it is a great opportunity to promote your events. Next slide, please. In addition, please keep sending your press releases. Now we're using them both as pitch possibilities for the Jersey Arts feature stories. And we also use them to share to our social media. You can send your press releases both to editor at Art Pride New Jersey and news at Art Pride New Jersey. And in the follow-up email, those email addresses will be in the recap email that'll be coming tomorrow morning. As far as Hump Day hints, we have a Jam Facebook group, and we put Hump Day hints in there. And it's really important, please, to let us know how we're doing. There's a 5-question, really quick survey that lets us know if this is helpful to you. Because if it is not helpful, then we can find something else that works for you. So please, this also will be in the follow-up email. It's just been dropped in to the chat. Let us know how we're doing, whether you want Hump Day hints that arrive every Wednesday. Please let us know. Next slide. And with that, I want to thank Dr. Neil Barthan for his wonderful presentation and really kind of bringing up a lot of the new thinking about how we talk to our 2019 versus 2023 audiences and so much more. We want to thank Vince Hall for his technical support. Thank you, Vince. And thanks to each of you for taking the time this morning to join us in this Jan meeting. Next slide. And lastly, on the last slide, I want you guys to keep an eye out for the registration for the November Jam. It's already scheduled for November 8th, and we will have Spark Creative joining us to talk to us about, share their insights on social media marketing and how that can be a support both large and small organizations. And with that, at 11 o'clock on the dot, we conclude our Jan meeting. If there's anyone who has a last, yes, the Hump Day hints, repeat the media, please. The email media releases addresses are editor at artpridenewjersey.com, and news at artpridenewjersey.com. Okay, so 1101, I appreciate you all taking the time to come through. All this information will definitely be in the follow-up recap emails. And with that, I say farewell. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. I don't know, musicals are flying in my head today.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.